So I was tipped off that my wife may be engaging in some infidelity. It's like, hey, something just happened. I think I hurt my wife. So I was taken to the police station where I was processed and booked. And I was asking the officers, is she okay? And all they could say was she's seeking medical attention. I didn't know what that meant. That can mean anything.
What the hell are you talking about? It wasn't that bad. Minimizing the damage.
And, some of the things that they said I did and that I said isn't the man that I am. So I'm questioning, did this really happen?
Now it's the alcohol's fault. It's never his fault. It's the alcohol. It was this person that he wasn't. He had this out-of-body experience. It's always somebody else, never him. This may have been one of the most sick, most disturbing podcast episodes I've ever seen. But essentially, the podcaster, I've never seen him before. So his name is Kevin Lanning. Never seen Kevin Lanning in my life, but Kevin Lanning had on a guy who went to prison, I'm guessing, for domestic violence. And he beat his wife or whatever and probably did something worse to her. And we're all going to watch the video together right now, shortly. But it was so disturbing because essentially the whole video is him making himself out to be a victim. It's pretty remarkable how the host never challenged him on this and never pressed him on well, what did you do? And none of that type of stuff. It was, the whole thing was him making himself out to be a victim when he was anything but. It's really disturbing, very disturbing. So trigger warning for sure. If you have suffered narcissistic abuse, you are about to witness a narc in pure, his rarest form. Peep the name of the episode. It's I Caught My Wife Cheating, Blacked Out, and Landed in Prison. Blacked out. It's already kind of telling you what kind of person he is, but let's get into it.
So she was a very, very beautiful woman. And 13 years younger than me. So, me being at the age I was, and I see this beautiful woman who's younger, who's got an interest in me. Of course, I'm going to be all over that. I'm going to be about that. So we developed our relationship, got married, and we were living a great life. She worked a pretty good job. She changed positions and took a job with another hospital locally where we were living. And I took employment with another hospital network that I significantly increased my income by making this change. So we were living a good life. All of our bills were always paid. And we never had all of our wants, but we would get a lot of our wants.
And do you see how off the bat, I hear this rhetoric all the time, but if you listen, he already mentioned her age, how much younger she was than him, how attractive she was, and how it was a no-brainer because of the age he was at and how much younger she was. It was a no-brainer for him. It had nothing to do with her personality. She wasn't the sweet. I'm saying what was omitted from what he said. She wasn't the sweetest woman. She wasn't the smartest woman. She wasn't the kindest woman. None of that. She was beautiful and she was 13 years younger than me. So I was all over that. Not I was all over her. Just the dehumanization already, you could just hear it, right? And then he goes into how much money he was making and how they had all their needs met, all their wants, most of their wants met. Right? So what he's setting it up, he's making excuses pretty much. So what else could she ask for? Why? Whatever happened, I didn't deserve it because all the bills are paid and some of our wants were available. We got some of our wants or most of our wants fulfilled. Right?
So we were living comfortably. And I was the guy that would go to work and I would tell my coworkers and everything that were complaining about their relationships, complaining about their jobs, and that I'm living a good life. I love my position at work. I was what's called an in-charge officer on my shift. And I would talk about my wife when they're complaining about not wanting to go home because, they would call them the old lady, the old lady's this, the old lady's that. And then I kind of feel guilty when I'm like, look, I got a fantastic life, man. I can't wait to go home to my wife, and that's the way I felt every night. There were nights I would get off work and I couldn't push that gas pedal hard enough to get home to my wife. That's how much I looked forward to going home. And so I was tipped off that my wife may be engaging in some infidelity. So, me being who I am, I'm going to investigate this and I'm going to investigate it thoroughly. So, I started looking into things, and to the point to where it was consuming me. I wasn't performing my job duties like I should. I was in front of a computer digging, trying to see what I could find out. And I discovered that I can get a if I have her information, I can get a report from Meta showing me deleted messages and current messages and so on. So I did that, and it was going to be emailed to me, and it was taking a while to compile. And one Saturday afternoon, we would go out every Saturday for lunch. And one Saturday afternoon, we're out to lunch, and she knows what I'm doing. This built for about 5 weeks prior to my incident. So for for 5 weeks, this continued on, and it was building and building and building. And I knew something was going on. I got the tip, but I wanted to be sure because I thought for sure there's no way that my wife would be doing this. There's just no way. She tells me she loves me every day, and she tells me that I'm her person. Um, I'm her forever. And so I'm thinking there's no way this woman who tipped me off is probably trying to cause drama for whatever reason. And my wife also is telling me that this is all in my head. There's nothing happening. That I need to go get help for myself.
So you did bring it up to her.
I did bring it up. Yeah,
Okay.
she's aware of this.
Okay.
And so I did bring that up. And so after her telling me that I need to get help for myself, I started to think maybe this is me. Maybe there is something wrong with me. And then this particular Saturday afternoon, we're out for lunch. Um, she says, "So how long is it going to take to get this report?" And I said, "I don't know." So I picked up my phone and I showed her that it was pending. And then she realized, I think at that time, that I truly am going to be able to see whatever was going on. And she took a deep breath and sighed. And then she says to me, "I've been sending some pictures." And at that particular moment, I can only describe it as um, I felt flushed, I felt angry, I felt embarrassment, and my heart was racing. And I told her, I said, finish your drink. We got some things to discuss." And I know at that particular moment, my intent was going home, hashing this out. Probably the way the way I felt was we're gonna have to end this because I can't go on with this marriage if you're unfaithful. And so we left the place where we were, and I remember getting to the car. Now, this is where it gets difficult for me because I did something that I don't hide from. I'm truly embarrassed about. I'm remorseful for. When she got in the car, I remember reaching over and slapping her.
He is this whole thing. I just want to be clear. Everything leading up to this moment, that's all he's been setting it up to minimize what he did to this woman. So when he just made that statement right there, that was complete bullshit. You're not owning it. He's I didn't show you guys all of this. This is minute 27:50. So it's 28 minutes into the pod. He talked about how he used to be on alcohol and how his mama pinched his butt when he was young, and how the bullies in the neighborhood chased him down the street and threw pebbles at him like Forrest Gump, like whatever, right? He told his whole fucking sob story. 28 minutes into it, now it's, oh, let me talk about how I slapped this woman, but I take accountability. Like, what the fuck? It's in the police report. That's the only reason why you're owning up to it. It's in the police report. We can all see it. If we know your name, all we have to do is Google you and go to the police report, and we'll all be able to see it. So you're not some fucking hero. That's why I fully own this. You don't. None of your rhetoric thus far has shown me that you owned anything. It's all been excuses.
And telling or asking her, "How could you do this to us?" And we pulled away from the curb, and driving down the road, I remember my heart just continued to race, and it was getting worse. And I just I felt, I just felt like everything around me was closing in, and I don't have a lot of memory of the actual incident at that time.
Bullshit. Bullshit. You don't have any memory of what bullshit. Bullshit. Talking about he's owning it. You're not. You know exactly what you did. Shut the fuck up.
Um, I remember having a moment of clarity. I'm driving my car. She's not with me at this time, and I don't even know where I'm at. So I see an exit up ahead. I take this exit. I pull over into a park and ride area right by a major highway, and I picked up the phone and I texted a friend of mine. I was like, "Hey, something just happened. I think I hurt my wife." And I
If you didn't know what you did, why wouldn't you text your wife? If you blacked out and you had no fucking idea what you did, why not call her and be like, "Hey, what the fuck happened?" Text her, "What the fuck? Did I do something to you?" You didn't call to check on her because you knew what you did to her.
don't know how bad. And he's telling me, I'm I've always been known to be a prankster. So he's like, if this is true, you need to call somebody, you need to give yourself up, you need to turn yourself in. And he asked me, he says, is she at the hospital? I said, I don't know. I don't know how bad anything is. I don't know what I did. And at that time, a police officer passed me by. He did a U-turn, he came by, and he parked at the top of the hill. I was sitting down in a little valley in this park and ride area. He parked at the top of the hill. And I'm like, okay, I must have done something really bad. So I unholstered one of my firearms I kept in the car, and I put it in my mouth, and I was gonna eat it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fucking right. You was gonna eat it. Fuck out of here.
And my friend on the other end said, "Man, just give yourself up, man. Don't do this." And I continued to talk to him. More officers show up. Um, they surround me. They move in, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get out of this. So now I'm thinking, do I do this myself, or do I have them do it for me? And that's where my mind's at this time.
He's even admit he's too much of a coward to do it himself. So he wanted somebody, he was gonna make the police kill him so that the police would have that on their conscience. Because he couldn't do it himself.
So my friend's still talking with me. He's like, bro, just don't do this. Just go. Everything's going to be fine. It's going to work out. So at this time, the officers are not giving me orders yet. I think they were waiting for more officers to show up because they knew who I was. They knew that I was always armed, and I put the gun down and I got out of the car without any instructions. I had an overshirt on, kind of like I'm wearing now. I took the shirt off and I spun around for them so they could see that I
See your
didn't have
waist.
anything. And then they started giving me orders. They had me at gunpoint, and I complied with every order they gave me. I was taken into custody and arrested. I still didn't know the significance of the incident, and I didn't want to know. I was terrified. I was scared. The only thing I kept thinking was I hurt my wife so bad that I don't want to live anymore. So I was taken to the police station where I was processed and booked. And I was asking the officers, is she okay? And all they could say was she's seeking medical attention. I didn't know what that meant. That can mean anything. Um, so I still didn't know how bad my incident was. So I was taken to the county jail. I was at that time I was charged with domestic violence, and I'm still not knowing what's going on. I was later able to make a phone call. Finally, I got a hold of one of my sisters, and they said that uh, she did indeed go to the hospital out of just as a precaution, and she was treated for a concussion and released. So it was not as serious as I thought it could.
Do you know what a concussion is? That's just one of those things that just because you can't see, like what's worse than a concussion? I would I think a broken bone is better than a concussion. You know what I mean? Like cracking your I'm not even talking about pain. I'm just saying like long term wise, like a concussion is crazy, bro. What the hell are you talking about? It wasn't that bad. Minimizing the damage.
as I thought it was because I didn't know if I killed her. I didn't know how bad that I hurt her. I had no idea, like, exactly what happened, the details of the incident.
Mind you, this whole time he never caught the person who he claims he didn't know what he did. Like if because there's a chance you didn't do anything, right? There's a chance that you did close to nothing. You know what I mean? There's a chance you scratched her and you didn't call her, see what happened. Because you knew exactly what you did.
So now I'm in jail. Never been to jail before in my life, and I was in there for 3 days, and I really started to process what occurred, and I knew something something was really not right with me, and I was questioning everything. Like, what can I do? How can I make this situation better, not only for myself, how am I gonna move forward and make sure that she's gonna be okay? Because this is my wife. I do love her. Um, after, I made bond, so I was out of jail at this time. I had nowhere to go. I'm living in my car, and I was parking, at a local, grocery store under some lights so I could sleep at night and feel pretty okay, and I remember I listed my mother's address on the, court paperwork because I can't go home. There's a protection order in place. I can't communicate with my wife, and I can't go by and get my mail. So my mother calls me and says I got an envelope from an attorney. So I went by and got the envelope, and it's the discovery. I got every police report in there, um, the witness statements, what they said happened, and I, as I read these, I broke down. I was absolutely distraught and just devastated over what I was reading. I was like, how am I this guy I'm reading in this report? How did I do these things?
He's really trying to act like like I was so disgusted. It was you. It was you. Like you didn't have an out of body experience. It was you the whole entire time, completely in control of yourself that did this to this woman. This is this is so disgusting. This is crazy.
And some of the things that they said I did and that I said, um, isn't the man that I am. So I'm questioning, like, did this really happen?
That's exactly who you are. That's exactly who you're, a fucking narcissist. And you got on that stupid ass fucking crocodile Dundee hat. And you're not even Australian.
Did I really do these things? And so I'm distraught. I'm in tears, and I call my baby sister, who is friends with my wife, and I ask her. I said, "Did I do these things?" And she says to me, "There's pictures. There are pictures." And she picked my wife up from the hospital, and she told me, "Absolutely, these things happened." And I just, again, I'm wanting to not deal with this. I'm considering um, deleting myself from the face of the earth again.
So that's supposed to make me feel for you. That's why he keeps saying that. Like I thought about doing something bad to myself, but nothing happened to you though. Like still, like up until this point, nothing has happened to you. Everything you've done it to yourself. Everything except for her cheating on you, by the way. Which we haven't gotten into why she cheated, but whatever. She shouldn't have cheated. I'll sit with that. That's fine. But she didn't deserve this. That's for sure.
And um, when you're having thoughts like this, and you start planning, this time I was considering hanging myself. And just a block away, there's a hardware store. I go to the hardware store. I walk down the aisles looking for rope. I find rope. I pick it up, and I'm heading to the cash register to buy this rope. On my way, this is just um,
This part right here will tell you a lot about the type of person he is. Watch this.
divine intervention, if you will. I'm on my way to the register, and up ahead of me is my son, who's happens to be at the store. And this is my son that I don't speak to on a regular basis, and he's
So you have a whole son that you don't speak to on a regular basis? I wonder why. I wonder why and how you have a son, a whole child that you don't speak to on a regular basis. Hmm. Could it be because you're a fucking terrible person? That you are indeed the person that you claim to not be?
He's got my granddaughter in the cart, and I see him, and I'm walking towards him with this rope in my hands. And I'm like, what am I gonna say? How do I tell him that your dad is gonna leave here and
Mm.
go tie this rope up someplace and end
Yeah,
it
yeah,
all?
yeah.
So I have a brief conversation with my son, and I asked him, I said, did you hear what happened with dad? Did you hear about my incident? He says, yes, I did, Dad, and I hope you're gonna be okay. Um,
What a
I
son.
left there. I bought the rope. I bought the rope. I left there, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because now I know he saw me. He saw the rope in my hands. I don't know if he put two and two together
He
and
didn't.
realized that that was my plan, but I couldn't do it after that. So still living in my car, I got
You bought the rope to tie up some unsuspecting woman. You bought the rope to go find your ex-wife and tie her up. Like, that's what I think you bought the rope for.
very sick. I'm very ill. I think I ate something bad, and I I didn't want to be alone. So I drove myself to my other sister's home in Southern Ohio, and while there, um, I thought certainly my wife wants to hear from me. I want to apologize. I want to be able to try to work this out in the best way that I can. So I violated the terms of my protection order, and I sent her some text messages,
Of course.
and I was drinking again,
Abuser.
and I wasn't getting replies from her.
Typical abuser.
And I remember I kept drinking and drinking to the point where I'm going to try to end this again.
Now it's the alcohol's fault. It's never his fault. It's the alcohol. It was this person that he wasn't. He had this out of body experience. It's always somebody else, never him.
Um, I think I passed out and it never happened.
Mm.
So I had to go to counseling the very next day, court ordered counseling for an evaluation. So I make it to my appointment, and I'm bleeding my heart out to this counselor doing the screening. And I was with her for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and I left. I felt good. I felt good about the conversation we had. So I leave her office. I walk out into the hallway, and I'm surrounded by police officers. I'm taken down. I'm handcuffed, and I'm arrested once again for violating the protection order. This
Nuts.
time I was taken to jail. I was booked, and while there, they had me on suicide watch. Now, I don't know if people understand what it's like being in jail on suicide watch, but you're placed in a cell where you have no mattress, no pillow, no blanket, um, and you sleep on a concrete slab. I had to use a roll of toilet paper to prop my head up with, so I could at least try to get some kind of sleep in there. And I didn't. Uh, it was uh, it was very rough, and I was on these suicide watch for 9 days like this. And during that time, I asked if I could speak to somebody, uh, try to get some kind of counseling. I just wanted to talk to someone. So they had someone come in and speak with me. I was taken to another area where I was able to speak to this counselor. And while I was in the middle of um, speaking to this woman, the door opens and a deputy walks in, and he hands me papers, and he says, "Hey," and he's got a big smile on his face, and he says, "Here's your indictment." And I looked at him with shock on my face. I was like, "Indictment for what?" And he hands it to me. And I looked down at these papers. I was being indicted for kidnapping, felonious assault, in addition to my domestic violence charge, a misdemeanor domestic violence charge. And I knew at that time how serious this incident truly has gotten. So, I contact my attorney and start trying to formulate a plan on the best course of action here. He decided. Well, I was offered a plea deal from the prosecutor. They were going to drop the kidnapping charge because the facts of the case did not support a kidnapping charge. If I took this plea deal, they were only asking for 3 years in prison with the potential of a judicial release after 180 days. I told my attorney, I said, I don't know. I don't want to go to prison. Nobody wants to go to prison. And I asked him, what can we do? He says, well, let's do this, because this is your first offense on anything aside of my misdemeanor trespass charge when I was 18 years old. He says, let's just plead to the indictment the way it is. You're going to plead guilty to the kidnapping charge, the felonious assault, and the domestic violence. And then he says, I'm going to argue for a better sentence on your behalf and keep you out of prison. I didn't want a kidnapping conviction, but this sounds good. If he thinks he's confident he can get me a better sentence, I'll plead guilty to everything. So we did that. And it turns out the judge sentenced me to the exact same thing I would have got had I taken a plea deal, except now I have a kidnapping conviction. So it didn't work out. I was
It's a shitty lawyer.
it was rough. He was said to be one of the best in the area. And it cost me several $1,000s that I'll never get back. I mean, I essentially paid several $1,000s to go to prison.
Good. Good. So out of that whole story, no contrition. He was never saddened by anything. He fake cry. Only time he almost fake cry was when he talked about himself wanting to kill himself for having to face the consequences of his actions. He never apologized to his ex-wife. It doesn't sound like, man, I never, like at my sentencing, she showed up. I apologize, like nothing. And like I said, the first 30 minutes of the pod was them talking about how rough his upbringing was and how his mom, he was even talking about how his mom like was with a bunch of men and shit. Like he was like talking shit about his mom. And I'm like, what the fuck? That was a very narcissistic reaction, you know what I'm saying, to being convicted of a crime that you committed against a woman. Like that was like exactly what I would expect from a narc. Exactly what I would expect. That was very, very sick. Very, very sick, very disturbing. But yeah, man, I don't know I don't know nothing about that guy. Also, that podcaster should be ashamed of himself for platforming that man and not pushing back. I mean, I'm not saying he knew everything that man was going to say, but there's no way I would have let that man tell his story unchallenged. He was just like, oh, and then what happened next? Like, ask that fool more clarifying questions. You just letting him sit up there and fucking lie and spin this web or whatever? Like, what is this? Did he pay you to come on the pod? Like, I'm not understanding. So shame on him and shame on that fucking man for doing what he did and not having any remorse whatsoever. I didn't see an ounce of remorse, none whatsoever. Typical, just seemed like he's sad he got caught, if anything.